Hey YouTube, it's day 10 on the Greg's Garage 30-day welder challenge, and it's going to be a bit of a bitzer video today. We've got some stuff turned up, so I've got the bearings for the headstock and also got the South Bend manuals turned up as well, so we'll open that up. And I've also got the bed and the pedestals painted with 3 coats of paint, so I'm going to put them back together and let's see how they look. So let's get into it. Alright, first up let's unpackage this stuff. So here in Australia, this came from Australian Metalworking Hobbyist, I think it's the name of the company. Thank you, Mal. He was even kind enough to ring me to get the serial number of my lathe for his register. But you guys in North America, and most of my traffic comes from viewers in North America, we'll be able to get this on Amazon, so I'll put a link down in the description box for you guys where you can buy this thing off Amazon. So packaging, goodbye. Okay, there we go, guys renovating 9-inch South Bend. So I'm probably only going to use this once, but hey, it's an investment in my lathe, and I'm going to have my lathe probably until I'm dead, so I'm going to hang on to that. And here's a felt kit. So allegedly there's a couple in here that we don't use on a Hercus lathe, but I can replace all the felts and you know, get this thing as good as new. So that was a good buy. And let's quickly have a look at the bearings. So these are ordered in for me by my local bearing shop. This rear one, it's Koyo, so it's Japanese. Now I paid, it tells me he did me a good deal. I paid $100 for the 2 bearings. Allegedly, this outer race, which was the last one they had in their warehouse, he was telling me retails for $123. So this is a Timken one. So I've got a Timken in the front and a Koyo in the back. I don't really care, they're both good bearings. So this stuff's not cheap, but again, this is an investment, so I'm not putting cheap bearings in this lathe. I don't want to have to pull this thing apart again. So until I'm ready to put them in, I'm going to leave them in their packaging. They are wrapped and sealed in plastic, so I'm not even going to open those until I need to get the races out to push them into or press them into the headstock. So the objective is keep them clean, so keep them sealed as long as possible. Don't leave them lying around. Obviously these ones are, but I'm going to throw them out. So you can do whatever you like with these, but the new ones, before you put them in, you know, keep them clean. Any dirt or anything that gets in there is just going to shorten their life. So just keep them sealed up. So this one came as 2 individual pieces. So like I said, there's the outer race. Again, that's sealed up. Well, not really, but take it out. Should have some. So, you know, this is high quality steel, you know, made with a lot of technology and a lot of heat treat that goes into it to make them what they are. So that's what you're paying for. And again, I don't have big grudge paying for Timken bearings at all. This should be some of the best things you can buy. So, and there's the, you know, so I'm going to leave them in the packaging until I'm ready. I am going to push out the races that are in the headstock in a minute, and I'll show you how I do that. Now, I think the other day we were talking about, I recorded the other part of the video the other day. So now, I think we talked about using a nail to try and push these out. Now, I've discovered that a nail is just not rigid enough to do this job once it's put inside these very small holes here. So because I had this problem, I thought, well, now I've got to go to the shop and buy some punches that are small enough to fit in here. So that's the reason we've had a break from this part of the job, because I had to go to the shop. So did that the other day, and I picked up a couple of punches. So we'll use some proper punches and knock them out. Now I thought I could get away with this, but didn't work. Now I don't have anything else that's that diameter that would be suitable to use as a punch. So I've had to just suck it up. And I think I had to spend $9 each, and I bought a 2.5 and a 3mm punch, and they're German made, so they'll last forever. So it's an investment, but again, you know, this stuff all adds up. So let's get organised and get into it. Okay, so I've just pulled these punches out of the packaging, and you know, the astute viewer will see immediately what my problem is, and that's that I can't get a hammer in behind here to get this bloody thing out. So I don't know what I'm going to do right now. I really need a really short punch, and you know, if I have to, I can cut this one down, but I'd really like to avoid that. I just spent money buying one, but sometimes you have to make a special tool. So even if I cut it back here, I'm really not going to have a whole lot of room to swing a hammer. So I might have to find something that's short and of a small diameter like that I can use to push through the back here and push those races out. So I might go rifling through my bits and pieces and see what I can find. Be back shortly. Alright, this is becoming more and more fun, and hopefully you can still hear me over the driving rain from outside. So here's a standard puller tool that I've got, and you can hook these legs in behind the race, but in this particular case there's nothing for this screw to bear on. So I'd need to create some sort of a bridge or something across the housing so that I could screw this in and then draw the bearing race out. Now I can't really, there's not a lot of room from the front face to these lips here, so even if I put something across here, then I don't think I'm going to pull this out far enough to get it out. It'll hit on the bridge before it's extracted all the way from the step inside the housing. So that means I'd have to make something that comes out and then across to give me some room to get this guy all the way out. So I might have to fab a tool to do this job. So I'm thinking I'll use this puller, and if I screw that all the way out as such and just mock up where this will be sitting, for example here, and have a look. Yeah, so I've probably got from in there about 35 mil, 30 mil, 32, 35, 35. So I need to make something that camera. So I need to make something in cross section that looks like this, and I'll probably have to fab it up from some blocks of steel, and then the screw tip will just bear on there, and the arms will go through and catch the back of the bearing. And once we screw this guy in, this should move in that direction and pull it out. So I just need to make sure there's enough space so I can get this all the way out from behind the step in the housing, and so there's clearance to get it out. So I think that'll be the general idea, and I'll have to chop up some steel and actually weld something for this challenge. So that might have to be a job for the weekend, since I have to get the saws out to cut the steel up, but we've got a bit to keep us going in the meantime, so let's get on with that. Alright, I just want to show you my favourite way of cleaning up nuts and bolts. I'm going to reuse these ones. These are the pedestal bolts, and I've got two bench grinders set up. This one's got a wheel and this is the old multi-tool, the belt on it, and this one's got a wire wheel and a spindle for buffing. So I tend to use these just about all the time, so to me having two bench grinders set up, it saves me a lot of time. So wire wheel is definitely my favourite way of cleaning fasteners. Seems to be pretty much the quickest and easiest way to do it. So I'll just show you one, and you get the idea of how it comes out. Okay, so there's how they come up, just about like new and ready to be put back into service. Now, before the safety Nazis start having a field day about my use of gloves, my earlier video about polishing, I wasn't wearing any gloves, and the safety Nazis were saying, well, you need to wear gloves. I replied to a couple of comments saying, well, Gloves are great except around rotating machines, and I generally won't wear gloves around rotating equipment, except for this circumstance where I've learnt by, skin knuckles. If I'm using the wire wheel to clean parts, especially small ones, I'll occasionally catch a tip of my finger or a knuckle or something on the wheel, and you only need to do that a couple of times before you get smarter. So I wear tight-fitting mechanics gloves like these when I'm doing this sort of work. I wouldn't be wearing a loose rigger's glove near these wire wheels, because that could pick up some of the loose part of the glove and pull your hand in. So in this case, I just scuff the gloves up a bit like that, which, these gloves are consumable, so I'll just chuck them out and buy another pair. So safety Nazis, be gone. Okay, so I've got these bolts all cleaned up and they've come up, just about like new. So yeah, there's probably other ways of doing it, but that took a whole of like 2 minutes. Now, I guess that these are 5/16 UNC, and I tested it and measured it, and sure enough I'm right. So I'm going to chase out the threads in the lathe bed with a tap, because they'll be full of paint, so I'm not going to be trying to screw into those. So that'll be the next step. So let's go get the bed and the pedestals and see what mischief we can get up to. Okay, so I'm actually pretty impressed how this came up. So the filling and sanding was definitely worth it. It's not show car finish, but tell you what, for a machine tool it's going to be perfectly fine. So we're going to rip off the tape here and see how the bed's looking after all that paint. Okay, so not too bad. Probably could have done with a third coat of red in here. Might be hard to see in the camera, but it's not super high cover, and you can see I've probably been a bit light up here. A little bit of red coming through on the bed here, on the ways, but I can scrape that off or polish it off without too much trouble. And the finish looks good. The red and the grey looks great. So let's get these pedestals ready and we'll keep moving. That's why you got to keep your hands clean. I've got a fingerprint off my glove on there already, son of a bitch. Okay, flipped over. So that's the mount, the motor mount at the back on the rear side. So I'm going to chase these 2 holes out, and there's the 4 here and the 4 here that match up to the pedestals. So I know I haven't painted here. This is the underside of the bed, and I might be able to brush paint that later on. I have bought a tin of the paint, and I might be able to brush that on later on. So it would have required me to paint it with the spray cans, would have required me to have it, in this case, in this situation, dry, ready to go, flip it over, and then probably mask off, you know, some of the paint I've already done, and then just spray those 2 rails. So it'll probably be quicker and easier just to brush paint those 2 parts there. That'll cover up some of this red. Obviously this is on the bottom and you can't see it, but see if we can do it properly. So let's get in to clean up these threads. Okay, there's an incredible amount of crap in those holes, and it's probably just a mixture of dirt and grease and maybe cutting oil and all sorts of stuff, but the stuff that's fallen through from the other end of the hole is just unbelievable. So yeah, it's pretty murky. I'm glad I did that, and the reason I did is because with all that stuff jamming up the threads, you know, there's a good chance you're going to bind up the threads. I don't really need that. Again, this is supposed to last me another 50 years, this rebuild, so. Alright, fun and games. Okay, just we use this metric socket to get these off, and you can see a little better when it's out how, hopefully you can see that in the camera, how this socket drives off the flanks or the flats of the, let me turn that around, of the bolt head, not off the points. So I'm going to use the same one to put them back in again. Also put some washers on because there's no washers on here. So I'm happy for the washers to get crushed and distribute the load of the bolt. And I'm also going to Loctite them in because there's a little bit of vibration on the lathe, not a lot, but to get to them, if they come loose or if they whatever, it's going to be a massive job, and I don't want to do it. So this should be staying like this for the next 20 years. So I'm just going to Loctite them in, and it's not the high strength, it's just the screw lock, so they'll come out with a bit of force. All right, let's get them going. Alright, so I'm pretty happy so far. First bit of visual progress with the new colour and all cleaned up, so got to start somewhere. Visual progress is always good to keep you motivated. So I'm going to go edit some video and get it up, and probably go read my new South Bend book because the weather's pretty average and it's freezing in here, so I'm going to go do something in the warm. Alright, thanks for watching.